welcome once again to Let's Talk Marriage. This is Pastor Larry coming to you this Wednesday afternoon with Let's Talk Marriage. All right. We're going to get on into our program on today. Hope everyone is doing well. If you woke up this morning, you are doing well. Or let me do it again. You are doing well. All right. Again, I'm Pastor Larry, and welcome to Let's Talk Marriage. All right, our program on today is going to be how to keep the spark in your marriage. How to keep the spark in your marriage. All right. Mama might have told you how to get your husband, but Pastor Wilson is going to tell you how to keep your husband. And brothers, your father or uncle or grandfather might have told you how to get your wife. I'm telling you how to keep her. Amen. All right. Let's go right on into it. Okay, now, first of all, the first thing you should be doing in your marriage is you should pray for your spouse. You should always pray for them because you never know what pressures and things that they might go through during the course of a day or during the course of time. Things they might be going through on their job, if they're still in school, and with handling, especially with the mother's handling of the children and keeping the home every day. So make sure you pray for each other and keep each other up in prayer and touch and agree on something in your marriage where you want to have a goal set, where you are trying to achieve something or want to achieve something in your marriage. Make sure you touch and agree on that so it will come to pass. Just agree on what you want to do. For instance, if you want to later on, if you're just getting married, if your goal is to own property, make sure you touch and agree on it and be on one accord with that. Also, here's number 2. I have 8 things here. Let's see if I can get through all 8 of them. Number 2 is show of affection. Sometimes, after when you first got married, you always showed affection, or when you were dating, you always showed affection. And then, after you've been married for so many years, to those that's been married for a little while, it tend to kind of die out, but there's no reason why it should. You should always keep that spark alive. Is what the title is. Keep the spark alive. You should, always, there's nothing wrong with when you walk by your wife, touch her or something, give her a kiss, flirt. There's nothing wrong with flirting with your wife. There's nothing wrong with that. Or even flirting with your husband. You ladies, so you can flirt with your husband. Hold hands, compliment them often. Compliment each other. If they, you don't want your wife to go out and buy a new dress or spend time getting prepared to go somewhere, and you don't say how nice she looks. You should always tell her how nice she looks. Even early in the morning, when the roll is in the head, you can still say it. All right, number 3, try not to be on the phone. This is a big one. Sometimes when you're out, or even when you're sitting around, sometimes someone might call, or sometimes the phones are very addictive, especially the phones that they have now. So years ago, when they first came out with the cell phones, you had the big old cell phone that looked like a military phone, and you didn't really. And then they had what was called a bag phone that was in a little bag with like a little purse. You took it out like you were in the military or something. But you weren't always on the phone because there was nothing on the phone except numbers, like a regular phone. That was the only thing that was on there. But the phones that they have now are so distracting. They have videos on there. You could text with someone else. You can scroll through pictures. You can go on Facebook. You can go on Instagram, Twitter, and all those things like that. And they're very distracting, and they can be very addictive. So you have to make sure you kind of limit, especially when you're with your spouse, limit being on the phone because it's not an easy thing to do, especially if you do a lot of your business on the phone. You're going to always be looking at your emails, and that's another thing, the emails. And we didn't have emails and stuff years ago. So you have to make sure that you limit that time. For instance, if you're sitting with your spouse, you don't want to be on the phone while, because a part of keeping a spark in a marriage is sometimes it's just simply setting and watching a movie together if your spouse, because sometimes married couples, they tend to like different things. I don't like all the stuff that my wife like on TV, and she doesn't like some of the stuff that I watch on TV. And she might, because she might watch a reality show. I can't stand reality shows, and I don't watch reality shows or talk shows. So some talk shows she'll watch, and I don't like talk shows. But something every once in a while we'll find a movie, we'll sit down and we'll watch it together. So during that time, we try not to be on the phone or anything like that, and just give each other our undivided attention. That's another way of keeping a spark in the marriage. You come together and you sit down, uh, and sit down and just enjoy the movie together. Like you did years ago. That's what people did before. Back then, they didn't have, you just sit there and watch regular TV. But there's so many other things you can do. Okay, here's number 4. Make eye contact. When you make eye contact, it also lets your spouse know that you're listening to her. You don't want her to be talking to you. You're looking all around. Like, yeah, yeah. What'd you say? Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. I heard you. I heard you. Because she's going to ask you, did you hear what I said? If you're not looking at her. So you have to make sure you make eye contact. Again, eye contact, not looking down, but eye contact. So you have to make sure you do that. It also lets you know that you're listening, that you're concerned, that you're interest in what they are saying. So that's another good thing with making eye contact. It lets people know that you're listening, you're attentive to what they're saying, you're concerned about what they're saying. And sometimes people just want to, your spouse or your wife or your husband might just want you to listen to them. They might not need you to say anything, because sometimes my wife is saying something I don't like. Sometimes I jump to conclusions before she finishes. So it's a good thing to listen, sometimes. So we all work on the way. Nobody's perfect. Nobody's a perfect listener. If we had perfect listeners, there wouldn't be so much trouble in the world and things like that. There wouldn't be so many issues in churches if people were perfect listeners. So what we do is practice to be perfect listeners. All right, here is number 5. Disagreement. Under no circumstances during your disagreements should you elevate, raise, shout, or holler. Let me repeat that. Disagreements. Under no circumstances should you raise your voice, shout, or holler. Keep it real. Just because you're talking loud does not mean that you're being heard. Let me repeat that. Just because you're talking loud does not mean that you are being heard. Because, when you start talking loud, then the other person's going to start talking loud, and nobody's hearing what nobody's saying. So when you're having a disagreement, make sure you stay calm and try not to bring up subjects that you're already mad about. Wait till you calm down. If you're already mad about a situation, don't start talking about it right away. Let things simmer down within yourself. Breathe. Take a deep breath before you start talking, because if you start talking while the situation is still hot and iron, you're going to get hot and start talking loud, and the other person start talking loud, and next thing you know, you're having a shouting match and nobody's being heard because nobody's listening. So make sure that you're listening and Again, under no circumstances, raise your voice. And again, once again, I like this saying, just because you're loud does not mean that you're being heard. Okay, number 6. Take your spouse somewhere, please. Please, people, take your spouse somewhere. Sometimes some couples don't even never leave the general area that they live in. Come on, you can go somewhere. If you have means of transportation, you can go somewhere. It doesn't cost nothing but a little gas money to take a drive. Drive to somewhere. You don't have to spend that much money. Just, you could take a lunch with you and have a lunch in a park somewhere that's not near you, or you can go to a nice restaurant. It doesn't have to be expensive. Just make sure you do something like that, and take your spouse somewhere, so that way you'll have when you go places, you have lasting memories and things that you can talk about, things that you can converse about, things you can share with other people about. So make sure that you go somewhere with your spouse. Try new things. If you've never been somewhere, it don't mean that you shouldn't go. Just try it at least once. Okay, all right, moving along. Well, we're at number 7 here. Don't be clingy. You have some wives that or even some husbands that are real clingy. Wife can't make a move, or the husband can't make a move without them being there. In order for someone to bring you some roses home, they can't bring roses home to you if you with them all the time. They can't bring you a surprise if you with them all the time. That's the same thing with your kids. If your kids are with you all the time and you want to surprise them with something, for instance, they have a birthday coming up and you want to get them something special. If they are with you all the time, how will you surprise them with a birthday present? It's the same thing with a marriage. If you're always with your spouse, they don't get the opportunity to miss you, because when you're not with them that few hours, especially if you're really close, you're going to miss them those few hours and say, oh, I know she would like this. It doesn't necessarily have to be flowers. It could be anything that you like. And they'll say, oh, she would like this. There's been many times my wife has been out, or if I've been out, I see something she might like, and I'll pick it up. She does it more often with me because she knows I like certain things, and she'll pick it up, and I say, "Oh, you didn't have to do this," and I'm very appreciative of when she does that. So make sure that you're not that clingy person that start driving a person crazy, and trying to get away from you because it's so clingy. All right, number 8. Number 8 is kisses. There's nothing wrong with showing public affection. Now, let me clear it up. I don't mean making out in public. I'm talking about just a kiss on the lips, a kiss on the cheek, or something when you're out holding hands. And remember when you were dating your wife before you got married, you always wanted a kiss. You always wanted to seal everything with a kiss. When you dropped her off, you wanted a kiss. When you met her somewhere, you kissed her. And then after you got married, you don't do that anymore. Hey, how you doing? What are you gonna do now? Next, shake hands, give him a high five or something. But there's nothing wrong with kissing. It's underrated. So make sure that you seal your relationship with a kiss. And these are the things that keep the spark in your marriage. Make sure that you're supporting each other. We've talked about that several times on the program. Make sure that you're giving your support to your spouse in any endeavors that they might have. If they want to go back to school, if they want to start like an at-home business or something like that, make sure that you are supporting each other. And when your wife does something, like if she cook a meal, even if it's an experimental meal, make sure you compliment it. Don't it was all right. Make sure you compliment it, give them compliments, and again, going back to number 2. Number 2, we mentioned show of affection. There's nothing wrong with showing affection. holding hands, compliment them often, and that don't know how far a compliment can go. And a compliment can be very encouraging to your spouse. You might have had a bad day at work, might have had a rough day with the kids. Your husband might have had a rough day at work, or a rough day, rough day just period. And with your compliment, just a simple compliment can really go a long ways. So make sure that we are doing that. Make sure that we are holding on to each other, and keeping the spark in our marriage. And these are a few things that will keep the spark in your marriage. Number one was really important as well. Pray for each other. Make sure you pray for your spouse. Make sure that you lift each other up in prayer. Make sure you pray for your children. Especially with the things that are going on nowadays, and it's so crazy. The world is so crazy. It's not going to really get better, but if you're a Christian, if you go to church and stuff, you have you have hope. So make sure that you are praying for each other and lifting each other up in prayer, and just be thoughtful about each other, and because life is so short, so we have to make sure that we love each other. Make sure you tell your kids as well. Make sure you show affection with your kids. Give them a hug. You don't want them to grow up and say, "I never got a hug." Give them a hug often. A hug can go a long ways. Have to have it if they're having a bad day at school, which a lot of kids go through it. And when you show affection to your kids, and give them a hug, and every once in a while they'll feel more open or more apt to come to you if they have any kind of issues. Keep the lines of communication open with your kids. And the same thing with the disagreements. If you have something with your children that you disagree with, please, by under no circumstances, raise your voice. Because when you start raising your voice at your kids, then the next time they have an issue, they're not going to they won't come to you. They'll go to someone else. So you want to make sure that you don't raise your voice when you have disagreements with your children. Learn to talk with them. Learn to listen to them, as well as listen to your spouse. Listening is so That's another thing that's so underrated. We don't want to listen. We're a generation that don't want to listen, but we want to be heard. And again, just because you are yelling does not mean that you are being heard. This is Pastor Larry. I'm going to be signing off with Let's Talk Marriage until we meet again on Let's Talk Marriage. All right. Any of the music that you hear on this program is from an app called Whoop Triggers Plus. It's on the Android platform as well as the Apple platform. Until we meet again next Wednesday, this is Pastor Larry signing off with Let's Talk Marriage. All right. This is Pastor Larry signing off. But let's talk marriage. Thank you for your support, and thank you for listening. Remember to like and share this with your friends, with your family, with those that are contemplating on getting married, those that are in relationships. Please share this video with them. You can find it on YouTube or on Facebook. Again, till we meet again, this is Pastor Larry with Let's Talk Marriage.